Rachel? No, guess it's not. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting of Barrow Borough Council's Planning Committee. I'm the Chair, Anne Thompson, Councillor Anne Thompson. This is our second virtual planning committee, so please bear with us. We are getting better, so hopefully we'll get through it all right. May I first remind you of some of the domestic arrangements. It is important that all participants conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. Please put your mobile phone on silent. Participants must ensure their microphone is muted throughout the meeting. If you wish to speak, you must raise your hand via the raise hand facility in Zoom and only unmute your microphone when invited to speak. Please do not interrupt other speakers. Members are reminded that they should not have alternative communication lines open, i.e. other Skype chats, and that if you are contacted by a third party during the application, you should bring this to my attention as soon as possible. If members do lose connection to the meeting, we will adjourn for up to 10 minutes to assist them in reconnecting. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being broadcast live to the internet. The whole of the meeting will be recorded except where there are confidential or exempt items. To vote on matters, I will confirm the recommendation and request a mover and seconder. I will then hand over to the Democratic Service Officer to conduct a roll call of votes. That's the formalities. Let's proceed with the business. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence and substitute members. I think we've got one substitute member. We've got Hayley for Councillor Mooney. Have we got any other substitute members? Nope. Right, so Paula, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask attendees to introduce themselves, starting with a roll call of members? I'll say each name and if you can just respond by saying present. Thank you. So Councillor Anne Thompson.
Present.
Colin Thompson.
Present.
Councillor Assood.
Present.
Councillor Burley.
Present.
Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Councillor Gaughan.
Present.
Councillor Hall.
Present.
Councillor Husband.
Present.
Councillor McEwen.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Knott.
Present.
Apologies from Councillor Mooney, and we've got Councillor Preston.
Present.
And Councillor Seward.
Present.
And then officers, Maureen Smith.
Present.
And Charles Wilton.
Present.
Now, we've actually got an objector wishing to speak today, Mr. Moore, who's currently placed in the waiting room. We'll admit him to the meeting at the appropriate point. And are there any other attendees that I've missed?
I'm here, Paula.
Sorry, Debbie. Yeah. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Right, okay, we'll get back onto the agenda. Any urgent items? I haven't received any. Delegations, to receive notice from members who may wish to move any delegated matter. Non-delegated, I haven't received any. Admission of public and press, everything's in part 1. Declarations of interest, any interests to declare? Bill, are you just declaring your normal ones?
Yeah, sorry, just the county council ones, just as normal for Paula. Thank you.
Okay. You're the same, Derek. Okay.
Okay.
Right, do you agree I confirm the minutes?
Agreed.
And I will sign them at an appropriate time. Public participation. Any member of the public who wishes to ask a question may make representations or present a deputation or petition at this meeting should apply to do so by no later than 12 noon 3 working days before the date of the planning committee. Information on how to make the application can be obtained by viewing the council's website or by contacting the planning support business team. Okay, right, we have got one. We've only got one application today, so I'm going to go straight on to that because we have got a member of the public who wishes to speak. So we will go on to the application, which is a minor material amendment at proposed housing site Compton Drive, Dalton. So do you want to bring Mr. Moore in now, Paula?
I'll bring him in now, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Moore. Welcome to our virtual planning committee.
Thank you.
You will have received a copy of the public participation protocol, which explains the process and informs you that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. May I remind you that with regards to addressing the committee, you now have 5 minutes to make your representation. Please give your name and address and try to say everything you want to say in that 5 minutes, as this will be our only opportunity to speak. The members of the committee will then ask you any questions they have. Please just answer the questions, but do not raise additional points. Okay, Mr. Moore, is that okay, love?
Okay, yeah.
Right, would you want your start of your 5 minutes now?
Okay, thanks. My name's Brian Moore. I live at the Cedars, Abbey Road, Dalton in Furness. My main objection to the application is one of road safety. The stretch of Abbey Road between Ruskinville Bridge and Millbrow Garage is an accident backspot. Over the years, there have been more accidents on this stretch of road than I care to think about, culminating in one only about 3 weeks ago, where 3 people and a dog were killed. This isn't an isolated incident. To my knowledge, that makes 6 people have been killed on this stretch of road over the years. So I think if there's any extra egress onto the road or access onto the road, I think it would be unsafe. And that's my only objection. Okay?
Any members of the committee got any questions for Mr. Moore? If you've got any questions for Mr. Moore, raise your hand, please. No, I don't think anybody's got any questions. Does Mr. Moore go out now, or does he wait for the whole rest of the part of this agenda?
Mr. Moore can stay on the line, Chair, until the application's been determined.
Right, that's wonderful. Just stay on the line, Mr. Moore. Right, Charles, are you doing this one?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, if I could say a few words. The application relates to a development of 11 houses, and these are located on a greenfield site on the edge of Dalton, overlooking Abbey Road. And the application is to amend the approved scheme to allow a vehicular access onto Abbey Road. Now, the approved access is from Compton Drive, and that remains unchanged, so that the Abbey Road access is additional, and it would serve 2 of the dwellings. Returning to the approved scheme for a moment, there was a requirement for a pedestrian link between Compton Drive and Abbey Road. And in designing that link to accord with County Council standards, it resulted in the gradient and the materials of the footpath link being the same as for a private shared drive for vehicles, although a vehicular drive would be wider. So that was, if you like, the background for how this came about. Now, we've heard from Mr. Moore, and there was another objection as well about concerns about highway safety. And there are 3 points for me to mention about that. One is that the County Council is the highway authority, and when we deal with the planning application, there is a a legal requirement for us to consult with the County Council on highway matters, and we have done that, and that the response of the County Council is that they have no objection on highway grounds, highway safety grounds, as the scheme complies with their criteria. We have confirmation that there's no policy objection to the access going through the green wedge, and on that basis, the recommendation is for approval.
Okay, thanks, Charles. So when this application first came to us, there was no access onto Abbey Road, was there?
No, the Chair, the approved scheme has all its vehicular access from Crompton Drive.
So why has that suddenly changed, Charles? Because I'm not happy with the road going through the green wedge at all.
No, well, where we are is that the approved scheme, as I say, has all its access, all its vehicular access from Crompton Drive. But there was a requirement for a pedestrian-only link through onto Abbey Road. And so what the application is for is to upgrade that to make a private drive serving two of the houses. So you're quite right, Chair, that there's no approval for vehicular access on Abbey Road. And that's the basis of the current application, of course. It's to add that to the scheme. And as I was saying, that we have this objection on highway safety grounds, but we have consulted with the Highway Authority, the County Council, and they've confirmed it meets their requirements.
No, well, I'm not happy about this one at all, Charles, because I think the pedestrianised access onto Abbey Road was okay, but I think a vehicle one actually joins Dalton to Barrow, and I really don't think that's acceptable.
No, I appreciate your concerns, Chair. I think it's difficult though to object on highway safety grounds when there is no objection from the Highway Authority.
Well, I wasn't objecting on highway safety grounds, Charles. I was objecting on the fact that it's joining Dalton to Barrow, even if it is by a shared drive, and I just don't think it's right we do that. Anyway, I'll open it up to other members of the committee, but at the moment I am mindful to refuse. Anybody else got anything to say?
Stand up, Chair. Can I come? Hello?
Hello?
Chair, councillors McEwen and councillors Hall have their hands raised.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Chair, you're on. Sorry.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
I'm very much with Anne on this one. I'm not happy at all about the green wedge issue. And the fact there was going to be a footpath, there's a huge difference between a footpath for pedestrian access and an access road in width, etc. And I don't think it's right.
Okay, thanks, Les. Bill, do you want to speak now?
Thanks, Chair. I can see where you're coming from, Anne, and I never realised about that, but I'm only taking this on that the highways have accepted that the objection that they had is clear, and there's no more objection here. And then when I look at the conclusion on page 11, it says the County Council no longer object to the proposed vehicle access, blah, blah, blah. The access would pass through a green wedge. However, this would not conflict with policies which seeks to protect the open character of the green wedges. So, Charles, what does that mean there? Can you explain that to me?
Well, the green wedge is principally to avoid buildings taking place which harms its open character. And the view is that a drive passing through a field wouldn't actually harm that open character.
It's not a wedge, am I right? It's not affecting the green wedge. So with that, I've got no objection to this.
Well, it is affecting the green wedge, Bill, because it's going right the way through the middle of a field.
Yes.
That is green wedge.
That's not what it says.
Right. Okay, Bill, you've got your opinion, I've got mine. Right, I think I'm going to move something now. I'm going to move that we're mindful to refuse, and that we organise for the officers to have a site visit next week to bring us a video to the next meeting where we can actually look where it's going, because the plans aren't that clear where it's going. But I still, one of my reasons for mindful to refuse will be a drive that is joining Dalton to Barrow is totally unacceptable.
I will second that.
Thank you. Right, anybody else want to say anything before I go to a vote?
But one thing, Chair, are you voting minded to refuse or simply deferring for a site visit? Or for
No,
the video?
I'm moving mindful to refuse, and then if that fails, well, I'll go on to the substantive motion.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, at the moment, the substantive motion is as you've moved it, Councillor Thompson, and the fact that you're saying minded to refuse, but you're asking for a site visit to confirm the access arrangements. So on that basis, are you deferring it to have information with regards to a site visit to bring back to a future meeting?
Well, no. Well, I prefer to move mindful to refuse so that they can get, because it has to come back to another meeting next time anyway. So I'd prefer to do the mindful to refuse now, and then I can, and then they can do the site visit to put to us next time, and then next time, you know, we might overturn that. Is that okay?
A site visit is generally a deferral until the next meeting, but I think that what you're saying is you're minded to refuse, but when it comes, but you'll review it if you can come back with a site visit showing additional information.
Yeah. But at the moment, I am minded to refuse, and that's been seconded. So that is a motion on the table.
All right. Can I put
Okay.
sorry, Anne, can I put on the motion, please?
Yeah.
The motion is that we refuse this planning permission.
I'm sorry, Les, we can't refuse a planning permission. We have to be mindful to refuse, and it has to come back, Les.
Right, okay.
That's in the constitution of the planning committee. Okay, Les. Right, so do you want to take a vote, Paula? It's been moved and seconded that we're mindful to refuse, and we want a site visit next time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll undertake the roll call now. So if you could just indicate whether you're for, against, or you wish to abstain from the motion. So Councillor Anne Thompson.
For.
Colin Thompson.
For.
Councillor Assoud.
For.
Councillor Burley.
For.
Councillor Edwards.
For.
Councillor Gorn.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Husband.
For.
Councillor McEwen. Sorry, Councillor McEwen, I didn't catch that. Abstain.
All right.
Councillor Knott.
For.
Councillor Preston.
For.
And Councillor Seward.
For.
That's carried with 11 in favour of mindful to refuse, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much. Right, Mr. Moore, you can go now, love, because we're mindful to refuse. It'll come back next time, but I'm afraid you won't be able to speak again, but you've already let your views be known.
Yeah, sure, that's sure. Okay, thank you very
but we
much.
will let you know by post what the result of the application is after the next meeting.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Moore, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh. I took myself off as well then at the same time. Right, can I inform the live stream that we've only got two quite shortish items left, but I'll remind you again before we come to the last one. Right, the next application, we haven't got another application. So we'll go on to the terms of reference. I think you're taking us through that, Debbie, aren't you? We haven't got a written paper.
It was only to note, they were attached to the electronic version of the agenda, but if you'll recall that at Council on the 16th of June, members approved a revised terms of reference to the Planning Committee, and this was just bringing it before you to note. Very little's changed. It was just adding specific reference to the functions and regulations and also powers relating to the protection of trees and hedgerows and miscellaneous functions relating to rights of way. So they're just very minor changes to bring them up to date.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So do you agree to note that?
Agreed.
We don't have to have a roll call on that. Right. Do you agree to note the delegated approval booklet that came with the agenda?
Agreed.
Right. So we are live stream. We are now going on to our last part of business, which is the appeal decision from Hartington Street Methodist Church, which we won. And I think Maureen's going to take us through this, Maureen, aren't you?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thanks, love.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really just wanted to update members on a very recent appeal decision. Members will recall that outline consent for the erection of 5 dwellings on the site adjacent to the Methodist Church on Hartington Street was refused in July 2019. The applicants have since lodged an appeal and the inspector has found in favour with the council, so the appeal has been dismissed. It's a recent decision, just a couple of weeks old now, and it was a test of our new local plan policies, so it's quite an important decision really going forward. The inspector commented on our open space, biodiversity and green infrastructure policies and gave those full weight, fully accepted the council's reasons for refusal. It was also interesting that the inspector felt that terraced housing wouldn't really add to the mix of housing in the borough, and that it wasn't unreasonable for a private owner to look after the land and manage the land. So that's something that we will continue to monitor really and keep an eye on the appearance of the site. And there is potential to take action if that does continue to deteriorate. It's an important decision really going forward. And I really just wanted members to be updated and note that decision. The only other thing I wanted to add really is appeal decisions are a national performance measure. So it's quite pleasing really that we're doing well with appeals. We continue to perform well in terms of that target, and it's recommended to members really to note the appeal decision. A copy of the inspector's letter is attached as an appendix. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Maureen. Yeah, I'm very pleased with this. It's in my ward. The only problem is they've chopped all the trees down off it.
Yeah.
Which is very, very annoying, but they didn't have protection orders on it, so there's nothing we can do about that. Has anybody had any talks with the Methodist Church at what they actually want to do with this land?
Chair, we haven't had any communication with them since the appeal decision was made. It's quite recent, as I say, but I mean, as it stands, really, the inspector's decision is quite clear that it should be retained as a piece of public open space for the community to enjoy. So that's how we would expect it to continue, and it really is the church's responsibility to ensure that the land is maintained to reasonable standards going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. Do you all agree? Do anybody want to say anything on this one? No, I'm glad we won the appeal. It's a good victory. Okay, that's at the end of business now.
Councillor Hall has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I agree that I'm quite happy they're not building there. I do have some sympathy for the church, though. They've got a public space that then they're having to maintain with no assistance from residents and no assistance from the council. So, you know, it's obviously a drain on them. And that's maybe something that needs to be looked at.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hall. We did lease the land off them for a while and we put a park on, but for some reason that lapsed. I think it lapsed because I think the church wanted it back to put houses on. Because at one time it was a nice little park with seats on and people used to sit there. And I know a gentleman that lives in Hindpool who used to clean it up every morning. He used to go and clean all the rubbish up. So it was looked after when it was a proper open space area. But as I say, the church decided to take it back because obviously they had the ambition to put houses on it.
Yeah, I mean, we site visited. It is a nice, potentially a nice little space. I have to say, I walked past there a few weeks ago. It's a bit of a dump at the moment. Yeah,
but with the inspector's report now, we can get onto them because the inspector has said that it needs to be kept in a clean and tidy site. So we can actually get them to tidy that up now, can't we, Maureen?
Yeah. Is public access guaranteed to the site, or as landowners could they close that off?
Maureen, do you answer that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on the first point, yeah, they do have a responsibility as the owners, like any other owner of private land does, to keep it in a reasonable condition, and the council does have powers should that not be the case. In terms of its use, for example, erecting a fence around it would require potentially planning consent. In terms of access to it, that's more a civil matter really than a planning matter. So I haven't, as I say, had a conversation with the applicant since the appeal. It may be that they would welcome that, and we could look into possibly a discussion with them as to how they intend proceeding really as a result of the appeal decision. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. Is that okay? Has everybody finished? Is there no hands up, Paula?
No, there's no hands up, Chair.
Right, well, that's the end of business. Thank you very much. We've managed to get through our second planning committee without any major hiccups, really. So, okay, live stream, we're finished now. Thank you.